what's going on, but you can also, so you can work on your screen and stuff like that, but you can see the people walking around you and stuff like that.
Display for work.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
it's basically a virtual monitor that gives you unlimited screen space.
Yeah.
And the cool component that we're integrating into that makes this all possible is that we can take remote learning, remote workers and stuff like that, and bring them into the environment.
You only have 120 seconds. That's proceeded on with.
So we can bring them into a urban environment, even though they're very, very remote, and give them an urban learning experience, urban working experience.
So 2 quick questions. Is this a hardware play, a software play, or both?
It's both.
Okay. So what kind of are you creating a software platform where you can create content for the devices?
So that's the beautiful thing about it is we're using the existing operating systems out there. We don't have to have existing content created just for this. We're just plugging into existing content.
You all can come.
Yeah. So Dimension X and you seem to might want to have a powwow, right?
That's right.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, let's make that happen.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Terrific. Thank you, Joel. So, and one more time, Dimension X, one of the hottest new companies in Utah.
All right. And Dan and John, if you can step up, we'll have the brothers, and we'll have the group from Alchemy come forward. I'd like the gentleman with the casual look in the middle. I'd like the matching shirts on the outside. And I'd like John and Tyler next to the guy with the shirt. You need to come over here a little bit, get cozy, step out a little bit so they can get behind you. Here you go. Here you go. You had to pass like we took photographs. Tyler, get in here on an angle. I'm in. Get in here on an angle. How's your shot? And once again, it's a wonderful opportunity for me to get off the mic and the camera and let you do the things that you
All right. All right. John Richards here again. Tyler Richards with Startup Ignition Ventures. And one of a great team of alumni from our boot camp we run called Startup Ignition is the Alchemy team, which is comprised of Ilya and Brane Vrasic. Help me.
Vrasic.
I've known them for like 4 years. Can't pronounce their last name. And their first names are challenging too. Okay, and then we have David Carley, who's their new CTO this week that we hooked up with them. What we do is we help startup companies get their lean startup act together and really go after the businesses right. One of the last steps we do before they're ready for funding is making sure that their tech team is ready to go and building great product and making happy customers. And so this team's just accomplishing that right now, and we're super excited. This is a classic B2B SaaS aimed at the assisted living world. So why don't we have Ilya, the CEO, tell us who you guys are, why you're doing this, and what you do. Go ahead.
Yeah, so me and my family, we grew up doing assisted living for 18 years and saw firsthand the difficulties of having to run it with paper. What we found is that 74% of facilities are still using paper to manage things like medications and care for these elderly, and it's super inefficient. And so Alchemy aims to solve that problem, make things more efficient, save time, so that the care can be much better for the elderly overall.
So you've got a handful of customers and clients already charging and making revenue, and just getting started in customers and all that. How are the customers liking what you're doing for them?
Oh, they love it. I mean, Shayla's one of them, and she talks about saving 8 hours a week in time just by using Alchemy. Her staff saves on average 2 hours per shift. So if you think about that on 3 shifts, that's 6 hours a day that they're saving from documentation and just all of the other headache and things that happen when you have a digital system to manage the complexities and the communication around caring for elderly whose health conditions are constantly changing. It's just a dynamic environment. So yeah, they love it.
So let's go. Brane has built the system so far. You've been building, coding, and making this build and all that. And now that you're growing and getting customers in, you're finding out the two brothers here selling and building. You're finding out you need some more features in order to win more contracts and get deals and all that. So tell us about your experience building the product and now why you're bringing on David Carley as a CTO and what you're planning to do with making the product even better and more feature rich.
Yeah. So up to this point, it's been a very iterative process. We've tried to follow, lean startup principles that, you taught, John, kind of iterating back, going back to our customers. And so a lot of it has been medication heavy. So our medication suite is actually pretty robust that we've kind of built out. But, at this point, we have all these ideas that will just bring alchemy to the next level, all these features, and so it's becoming difficult to maintain just the technical side, writing the code, and then also kind of focusing on the product side. And so we felt that it was right now is the perfect time to basically bring on a technical guy like David with his specialties and like his background. Like, he's a super smart guy, and we've just closed the deal on him like this week, so it's still pretty new. But just getting his background has been awesome, and so that allows me to kind of focus more on the product. And I think we have a pretty good team that's going to be able to come together and build something awesome.
And before we have David comment on that and what he's going to do, Bill, Tyler, why don't you tell him about how we kind of found a niche as a venture capitalist where we help people put together the right teams and stuff?
Well, I think we just have a unique position because, these guys came to the boot camp how long ago now, to our startup boot camp? It was 4 years ago. David came through, when was that? Just end of July, just recently this year. And we found out about David's skill set. We found about the needs of alchemy and what this team was needing. We said, okay, match made in heaven, and it just kind of collides. Like what Joel says, collisions just happen, and when collisions happen, that's when the magic happens. So,
David, you could get a job anywhere, so why are you doing this? Why are you choosing this team and this company?
why alchemy?
Well, first of all, I wasn't looking for a job. I was looking for a rocket ship that I could be part of the fuel to, take it to the next level. And Bronny and Ilya built a great foundational product. We've got a lot of work to do to take it where we want to go. And I'm super stoked to be part of this team and can't wait to take it to the next level.
I think one of the things that you mentioned too is how cool it is that first time in your life you're part of a product that's so just talk about that briefly because it is cool. Components, everything.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the industry for 27, 28 years, and I've worked on all kinds of stuff, small stuff, big stuff, startups, the largest companies in the world. And to be honest, this is going to be the first product that I've ever worked on that is an unmitigated good in the world if we succeed at what we're doing. Yeah.
That's great. So
When we succeed.
when we succeed, exactly. So a bit of a comment. Startup Ignition Ventures, our primary focus is B2B SaaS companies, and you guys fall right square in B2B SaaS company world. We've had great experience with SaaS companies and done really well as investors and mentors. For instance, a recent company in Utah history is 4Up, the golf software management company. A niche, golf courses need software to run their clubhouses, their food services, their tea times, and all this. 9 years ago, we invested in a company. They took over that world and killed it and got thousands of golf courses on their system. Here's where our hope is for you guys. You're going to build that same type of thing for the assisted living industry, and we're going to look back a few years from now and talk about how many hundreds or thousands of assisted living beds are under your software.
Or how we're trying to talk and live stream in front of Rob Riggle, the actor and comedian.
Fantastic. So with that, I think, how are we doing on time? We got 5 minutes. Okay. Let's keep going. So tell us a little bit about B2B SaaS, and when you're focused on a vertical like this, like the approach to figuring out this vertical and that it was really a good vertical to go into. Now, you two are from that industry, and my favorite thing as a venture capitalist or angel investor is to find a team that's in an industry and they're frustrated with the software for that industry, and they think about, I could make better software than I'm getting for my assisted living center or my golf course or my lighting showroom. That's another one. I've helped somebody, a lighting showroom guy said, I'm going to make my own software, and it becomes the greatest software in the industry. That's kind of the path you guys are on. But what did you still have to do, even though you knew the industry, what did you have to go do to validate the business model?
Yeah, so that's actually was a very interesting journey because, like you said, we came from the industry, so we pretty much knew what to build. When we went out and we interviewed, we ordered over hundreds of facilities from 7 different states. And in that process, what was interesting, it wasn't so much like what are the overall features, but it honed down what is the most important thing at first to build, because the feature set and running facilities is so broad. It's like we could start in a vast array of areas, and where we started, where Alchemy builds today, in terms of like document management over what we call logs and care tasks and medications, that's the day-to-day operational things that they, hands down, 9 times out of 10 said, this is what we want to build. So going through that process allowed us to really understand this is what we need to build first. And then, of course, that you continue to learn from the customer over time and then keep iterating, like Bronna said.
So you followed lean startup practices through validation. Sitting here today, assisted living, you were in the industry, but you went out and talked to 100 different facilities and what they wanted, needed, guided you on the first features and where to go. What was the most surprising stuff you were hearing that you didn't even know about your own industry? So I'd like to hear, because what my point in bringing this out is that even if you think you know an industry, you've got to go out and talk to enough quantity of other people in the industry. We don't just build companies because we're the customer and we think we know exactly what is right. We got to make sure we go out to enough 20, 40, whatever, and get big data to guide us in what we're doing for building out our company. So, like, what kind of shocked and surprised you that you go, why do they think that way? Because I didn't even think of that before.
We were just kind of reflecting on this when we first did our very, very beginning validation interviews. We found the statistic that said at the time it was 76% of facilities use paper. And that was even shocking to us. There's no way that could be the case. So we actually went out, we cold called a bunch of facilities to see what was that true. And our number was like within 1 or 2 percentage points that was the case. And when we talked to facilities, the interesting thing that was coming up was they were like, why would, like this word software, their idea of software, they said, why would I want a CD that has all the forms? Because years ago, that's how the industry was, right? People would sell CDs with all of the licensing forms and PDF forms that they could print off to run their business. That was the mindset around software. And so we don't even use the word software when talking to them initially because it just turns them off completely. And so they don't even understand really the potential of what a B2B software can do, a cloud-based software. And so once they start to see it, that's where like the mind opens. That was one thing that was shocking that I remember in that validation process.
Yeah, that's actually one of the exciting things is when you look at this industry, they have been so deprived of software and like technology. It's really a blank slate with what the possibilities that we can do. We're all kind of used to using different software management tools and apps in our daily lives and in our work, but they're not used to that. And so we have an opportunity to really kind of say, hey, look, this is what you've been missing out on for the last 20 years in modern technology. And that's the exciting thing is that as you introduce these really cool features that it just blows their mind. They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was possible, that you can do that.
Yeah. One quick thing on that is just we take for granted just the ability to check in on your business while you're at the grocery store, while you're at home. Like that little capability is just like mind blowing. Yeah.
Well, we'll end on this note here. One of the most traumatic experiences of my life was having to place my mother in an assisted living home. Super traumatic life experience, and a lot of young people listening to this, and all of you here probably have not had that experience yet. And so when that happens, it's super traumatic, and you go in and you're trusting this facility to take care of your parents. Okay, and so I went in, and I noticed immediately in checking her in and doing the deal to get her in and renting and paying the initiation that all over this facility there were Post-it notes everywhere, around every computer, in the room where they lock down the medicines, because that's a huge part of assisted living, and that's why you guys have an incredible medicine module. You guys have a leading medicine module for the industry, and everybody in assisted living needs to know that. But what happens is, I'm not kidding, I bet at this 30 beds for a memory care facility, there had to be 100 Post-it notes in that medical room, all over the cupboards and the cabinets and the computer screen. The computer sitting out in the main area where the interns would check in and check out and check on stuff had to be 20 to 40 Post-it notes on the monitor around it. No joke. And then all these 3-ring binders with papers where they're writing in manual stuff and initializing. This is the problem in the industry that you're trying to solve. And Alchemy 5 years from now, an Alchemy facility, I would imagine there'd be very few, if any, Post-it notes. And they would have their devices and SaaS in the cloud solutions to replace all of that. Because I started thinking, what happens if the 3M glue on those Post-it notes fails and that Post-it note falls off and goes into the trash can? Does somebody die?
John, And that's at a large facility where they actually write down the stuff. Imagine at another facility where they don't even write down the important things. It's in their head, and they're trying to convey.
So we want to thank Alchemy for coming here today. They're going to change the assisted living world with their great software and making these facilities more efficient and helping and protecting lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys again, and I believe, 210?
We're here 120 to 2. 120 and 140.
I think we should do this.
That's fine.
Okay? Right on. You've got all the people. Why not?
All right.
Thank you. I actually have Aaron's assistant living right now in our house.
Okay.
And I'd love to talk to you about the model.
We're ready. Test, test.